Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give everybody a minute or two to get logged on, and then we'll get things kicked off.
And we'll be keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A throughout this session. So if you have any questions, please drop them there.
Perfect. Okay, we are at 9:01. Why don't we get started? Welcome everyone to Opkalla's next quarterly Microsoft Updates webinar. My name is Dan Hewson, and for anyone on the call that I have not met yet, my title here at Opkalla is a Microsoft Adoption Specialist. So I've been working in and around Microsoft licensing for the past 20 years of my career. I am a CSP practice lead here at Opkalla, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. As Elizabeth had announced, feel free to ask questions within the chat. I have a team of licensed specialists that's going to be monitoring those questions that will be able to answer through chat. If it's anything we're unable to answer on this call, we are glad to set up a separate call to discuss any questions you may have as we go through the information today. So first starting, who is Opkalla? So anyone who is working with us today, thank you for your partnership. For anyone who is not currently working with Opkalla, we are a tier 1 direct CSP reseller for Microsoft. So as opposed to what? If you are not direct, you actually have an indirect relationship with Microsoft. So it goes through a distributor like an Ingram Micro, but we get our pricing directly from Microsoft. So we are able to pass on the best discounts possible to our customers. One change that I want to point out just recently, as everyone is probably well aware, Microsoft's end of fiscal year ended in June. We are in their new fiscal year. The one change is how they are compensating their indirect resellers. So basically, they are not getting compensated as before for base renewals for your basic 365 subscriptions and others. They are more focused on driving growth. So selling specific products in the Microsoft license estate. So they want to see Copilot being sold. They want to see Defender. They want to see Purview. And that's how they're going to be compensating these indirect resellers. We will continue to be compensated as is. But if you do have an indirect relationship or working with an indirect partner, watch the pricing closely because it could increase. And if you do need any budgetary quotes or anything, we are here at Opkalla to help you with that. So starting with our support designations, and I'll get through the Opkalla commercial here very quickly, but our support designations, we have a team of network engineers. We have a team of licensed specialists that are here to support our customers. One announcement that I wanted to make is that Opkalla did just achieve our next support designation, which levels us up and gives us access to additional resources within Microsoft. So first, we have a partner support account manager assigned to Opkalla. So if we do have any support situations that we need to escalate to Microsoft directly, we have a contact there that is going to manage the communication, make sure any support cases are brought to resolution as quickly as possible. And I will say that any CSP license that is bought at Opkalla comes with support for both your 365 environments, your Azure environments, and your on-premise environments. So that comes at no charge. In addition to that, we do have a next level up of a Premium Support Plus standalone support contract. So even if you weren't purchasing licensing through Opkalla, we do have a standalone support contract that is very similar to what Microsoft offers as their unified support contracts. We have found through customer feedback that this is very expensive and typically not the best support experience. So a lot of customers have come to us on Premium Support Plus. If you are interested, let us know. We'd be glad to set up a call and I can walk you through the details of what that contract and everything you get with Premium Support Plus. So we continue to add designations. There's going to be a huge focus on AI this year and Copilot designations. That's a lot of the content we're going to discuss here today. So we will continue to add these badges to continue to provide the best support to our customers. Continuing on, these are also our certifications that we hold today. Again, we are going to see a lot of AI and Copilot being required of partners moving forward. So we already have plans in place to achieve all the necessary certifications. Again, AI Copilot being the biggest focus for Microsoft these days, which we will go through today. So on the agenda today, we're going to start with Microsoft licensing and product updates. That is the focus of these webinars, and trying to keep up with all the changes that are happening within Microsoft. And in my 20 years experience, I'd say over the past 6 months to a year, I've seen more changes within Microsoft that I've ever seen in the past. So we're glad to have these webinars, glad to answer questions, want to make sure you understand how these changes are affecting the licensing that you own, or even an upcoming renewal. What does that roadmap look like for the next year? And what products are you considering adding to a CSP contract, or really any contract, an EA or an MPSA? So just want to make sure we get ahead of these changes, make sure you are licensed correctly moving forward. Huge focus, as I've mentioned a couple times already, Copilot licensing updates. Microsoft has made some pretty drastic changes over the past month, which can affect customers financially. We're going to run through how to navigate that and what the new rules are surrounding Copilot. And last, I'm going to go to the basics. A lot of customers are starting their journey down to the AI Copilot, really how to use these functionalities within their organization. So we're going to run through what is Copilot Chat that comes with basic 365 licensing, and then what is Copilot Premium, the actually paid for subscription. So we're going to talk about how that works within an organization, how best you're able to use those two functionalities within your company. So starting with the Microsoft licensing and product updates, we're going to run through 7 today. First one, the price increase review. So as everyone's probably aware on the call, as of July 1st, Microsoft had one of the biggest price increases in history. Basically, it's covering every 365 suite from 0365 to M365 to F365. So your frontline SKUs also went through a price increase. So now that we're here and we understand what that price increase is, let's take a look at what you gained with that price increase, what the new prices look like, and how to plan accordingly. Next, we're going to run through Microsoft 365 E7, the Frontier Suite, which was announced back in May. We've had a lot of customers interested in looking at what E7 brings to the table, what that pricing looks like, whether that investment is worth it or not. Introducing Agent 365. This is a new functionality within Copilot that's going to be the management console for all of your Copilot agents and subscriptions. Copilot Cowork. So this is a big change that Microsoft had. So Cowork was a functionality within Copilot that was actually offered for free. That is now changed to a consumption plan. I will run through the details of how to purchase that consumption. And then hidden Copilot costs and the whole new approach Microsoft has with Copilot credits. So this is costs that are over and above the standard subscription. Now they are basing a lot of the Copilot usage on consumption where you have to buy credits. Again, I mentioned the differences between Copilot Chat and M365 Copilot. And then there's also a change within Teams Enterprise and Premium. So if you do own these products, Microsoft has shifted some of the functionalities from Premium down to Enterprise, which may alleviate the need for Teams Premium. And I'll run through the details of what has changed on that front. So starting with the pricing and functionality updates, we shared this actually before the price increase happened, but the pricing is now in place to all 365 suites as of July 1st, 2026. So depending on the suite that you own today, prices increase from a range of 5% to 35% across the board, and that depends on the SKU. So it looks like where it was most hit are the frontline SKUs for F1s, F3s that got hit in the neighborhood of about 33 to 35%, on down to E5s, which looked like about a 7 to 8% increase versus the June price, now the new July price. So another part of the bad news is this stacks on top of, if you are under an enterprise agreement today, Microsoft has also removed the waterfall discounts that were basically applied to customers depending on your user count. So enterprise agreements start at 500 users as a level A. EA, it goes up to a level DEA, which starts at 15,000 users. So what Microsoft has done for all online subscriptions, if you are level B, C, or D, they have eliminated all those programmatic discounts. Everything is priced at level A for your online subscriptions. Now, what that means is that for enterprise customers, if you are considering, and this is what Microsoft is pushing customers to do, is move off of enterprise agreements, move towards CSP agreements. The reason being, Microsoft really wants to get out of the support game and lean on to CSP partners to be that frontline defense from a support perspective for all of their customers. So, what does that mean from a pricing perspective? If we're looking at apples to apples enterprise agreement to a CSP, the price will be less with a CSP, just for that reason that we're going to provide for the first line of defense for support. So if you're on an EA, my recommendation, do your due diligence, get pricing from a CSP partner, preferably Opkalla. Will be able to compare the pricing of what that EA looks like for the next 3 years versus moving to a CSP, which gives you the flexibility to move licenses on an annual basis, gives you the flexibility to buy products on a month-to-month basis, so you can move those license counts up and down, and really only a 1 year commitment versus a 3 year commitment, and probably at a better price. But I recommend anyone on an EA at least to take a look at the cost difference between the two agreements. Changes went into effect on July 1st, so we do have the pricing ready to go. All we had before July 1st was just the marketing material that Microsoft was putting out there. So we were unable to actually accurately price it out until we saw it show up on our price list. So if you have upcoming renewals, if you have an enterprise agreement and want to see what that price looks like moving forward, let us know. We were glad to put together any kind of pricing proposal or any products functionality that you wanted to look at. There is some good news. So, along with these price increases, Microsoft did add functionality to all of these suites. And I think this is really important for customers to understand what was added. So, basically, they did add value to the base suites. The first, probably most important one for their business size customers, that is really 300 users and less, they have added 50 gigs of mailbox storage to all of the SMB plans. So a lot of the time, if you had users with larger mailbox that went over 50 gigs, you would have to layer in an Exchange Online plan to expand that mailbox up to 100 gigs. Now, if you do own that today and you own business plans, we might be able to get rid of the Exchange Online, depending on the size of the mailboxes. If the 100 is meeting your needs, we can remove Exchange Online Plan 1, Plan 2, depending on what you were using, and it might be able to save you money based on this mailbox expansion functionality. Another big part of this, a lot of things customers were asking for a while, your M365 E3s and your O365 E3 users. Microsoft has now introduced a layer of security to those suites. Defender for Office Plan 1 will be offered in all of those suites. So automatically you'll receive Defender if you own O365 E3 or M365 E3. So no longer an add-on. If you were buying that as ad hoc to add Defender to functionality, that is included in the suite. It will be showing up in your admin center when you sign in. Also, advanced Intune features such as Remote Help and Intune Plan 2 are being added to M365 E3 and E5. So really what is that? That's giving customers the functionality of really the Intune suite in general. I'll put up a matrix here in a few showing everything that was added, but a lot of increased Intune functionality added to E3 and E5. Also, security for Copilot is now included in M365 E5. So, what security for Copilot? Customers are starting to ask questions about it. I have not seen a lot of them actually deploy this functionality, but security for Copilot is like an overarching layer where you can ask real language questions about your security posture. So, for example, how many systems do I have out there still on Windows 10? It can report back to you, this is how many we still have to upgrade to Windows 11. How many attacks were actually taken care of by Defender over the past month, and where did they actually initiate from? So just that AI functionality overarching over your entire security suite. Be glad to set up a separate call. We've gone down that path, but it is included in E5 and obviously E7, which we will get to. So here is the price increase. This was the marketing document that Microsoft released that we had before the July 1st price list, but now we have the actual accurate pricing. Again, glad to put together quotes for you, but you can start to see the percentages, at least relatively speaking, of what that price increase looks like for each one of the suites. So you can see, for example, M365 E3 goes from $36 to $39. That is MSRP pricing. We would be able to pass on the discount, obviously, off of MSRP to our customers based on that tier one CSP relationship that we have with Microsoft. So just relatively looking at the percentage increases here, again, we can give accurate pricing now of what it looks like moving forward. So here are the functionality updates. This is everything that has been added. And I think I'll start at the top left. I'll go through it quickly. But first, the Copilot chat enhancements have been added to really all of the suites. And I will get into the details of what Copilot chat is, but also that it have provided the security management and analytics for Copilot chat. So if you wanted to see how your end users are using Copilot chat, and maybe it makes sense for them to actually purchase the full M365 Copilot subscription, you will have more visibility into that. So URL checks in Outlook and Office have been added to Basic and Standard. That was always part of Business Premium. It was also added to Office 365 E1 plans. I mentioned before the mailbox storage. I think this is huge. I think a lot of customers, again, were bolting on Exchange Online plans to meet mailbox storage requirements. Now it is included. Defender for Office Plan 1, I mentioned, added to both E3 plans. So really is starting to take you down the path of using Defender for your Office P1 users. Here are the Intune functionality. So the big one that customers are asking about is Intune Remote Help. That is added to E3 and E5 automatically. Intune Advanced Analytics, again, E3, E5. And then Intune Plan 2, which again gives you pretty much everything from an Intune suite standpoint. So anyone going down the path of using Intune or looking to enhance that functionality, we'd be glad to walk you through how these products work, how they may best work within your environment. Again, added down at the bottom, Microsoft Security for Copilot added to E5. Again, another layer of security where you can use natural language questions from an AI perspective. Okay, E7. So when we heard the announcement of E7 that came out in May, they have now named it the Frontier Suite, and we really didn't expect as much interest as we have gotten over the past 2 months. So a lot of customers who already own Copilot want to start to look at, okay, what does that look like by either moving up to E7 or continuing to pay for Copilot as a separate add-on. So it's not inexpensive. MSRP is about $99 per user per month. I'll show you the breakdown of the pricing, but really what is included here. So first of all, Microsoft 365 E5. Now with the price increase, that includes Entra Suite also. Second, it includes all of your Copilot subscriptions, so the M365 Copilot. And last, it includes Microsoft Agent 365. There are some licensing prerequisites to run Agent 365 from a security and identity standpoint, but what Agent 365 is going to do, it should have been announced right when they announced Copilot, but it is a management console where you're going to be able to have visibility into all of your Copilot subscriptions, all of your Copilot agents that you have deployed in your environment. This is going to be very important, especially from an agent perspective, because that is when they are going to start billing you from a consumption perspective. So not only you're paying for that M365 Copilot subscription, over and above what agents you are running, it's going to move towards a consumption-based program managed through Azure, and we'll get into how to purchase and what those Copilot credits look like. And then also what comes with E7 is the Work IQ. And this is really, it's an intelligence layer that starts to look at how your users are doing their everyday tasks. And they will give you suggestions on possibly agents that might make those day-to-day activities more efficient. But it's an intelligence layer that starts to look like your day-to-day responsibilities, how you communicate internally and externally, and it will give you recommendations on how you can get things done more efficiently, put it that way, utilizing Copilot. So might help with some use cases, but also will help personalize that AI experience for your users. So with the announcement of E7, so the Frontier Suite, as I went through, everything included, your M365 Copilot subscriptions, Entra Suite and Agent 365, MSRP $99 per user per month. M365 E5 is now $60 per user per month. So you start to do the math there. Okay, today M365 Copilot is $30 per user per month. You add that to E5, it gets you to $90. And I'll show a breakdown of why this does give you savings, because it's not just adding that M365 Copilot subscription. There is functionality that comes on top of it. If you are on E5 or E3, Microsoft makes it very easy to upgrade. They are available. So we can take a look at, if you're an E5 customer today, what it would cost to move to E7. If you're on E3, what that upgrade would look like. So it's not like you're purchasing a brand new E7 SKU. You will be able to upgrade and there will be no double paying. Another question that customers have had, okay, if I have M365 Copilot today and I move from E5 to E7, basically how it works, we would deploy E7 within your environment, and then all functionality that is included in E7 would drop off of your admin console. So there wouldn't be any double paying. All functionality included in E7 would be take away what's installed as E5. So basically move to all E7 functionality. There'd be no redundancy. Everything would drop off that you're covering with E7. So here, this is a busy chart, but this gives you a quick breakdown of what those costs look like with E7. So as I mentioned, that M365 Copilot license is $30 and M365 base license is $60. That gets you to $90. So if you add in the two additional functionalities that I ran through, so Microsoft Entra Suite, Microsoft Agent 365, you're saving in the neighborhood of about 14 to 18% if you really look at everything included in E7. So while that $99 price tag seems pretty large, if you add up all the components, it is actually savings by moving to E7. So from a productivity standpoint, you guys understand everything included in E5. That covers all your 365 apps, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Windows, Teams Phone, and Power BI Pro. That's big because I think customers who are on an E3 plan are all of a sudden deploying more Power BI Pro licenses. It starts to make financial sense to move to E5 because Power BI Pro is included. Also, if you're going down the path of security and compliance, that's where it starts to make sense. Instead of bolting it on, actually moving up to the next suite. And this is something we do for our customers every day, is a financial analysis of when that upgrade makes sense versus staying on the suite that you are today and then just adding add-on products. So security and compliance standpoint, Entra, Defender, Purview, and Intune, obviously all included in E5 and E7. AI, so Copilot, Copilot Studio, and Agent Builder, Agent Flexibility, and Work IQ, which I mentioned before, all included within the M365 subscription and also obviously included in E7. And then from an agent management standpoint, this is going to be important. Again, Agent 365 is going to give you the ability to observe, govern, secure, and protect all of the agents across your enterprise. That is not included in E5. That is an add-on, either purchased as a standalone, Microsoft Agent 365, which is $15 per user per month, or it is included in the entire E7 suite. So a lot of functionality there. I guess the question is it worth it? What technology are you going to be using? Where are you in your AI strategy? Really, customers are just starting this journey. So we're having conversations of what use cases make sense. How do you purchase it? How do you govern these Copilot deployments? So Microsoft Agent's going to be hugely important. We'll be able to help you take a look whether an upgrade is worth it and really take you through the due diligence and give you documentation of what decision is best, and this is why. So here it is, Agent 365. So again, this is to manage, secure, and govern all your AI agents at scale. You can see here a snapshot of how to actually look at this. It is actually managed within your Microsoft 365 Admin Center. You can go to Agents and then click on All Agents. And when you have this functionality deployed, everything is going to show up for you on how to manage and make sure everybody is using Copilot correctly with no risk, and make sure the data is actually the data that's intended for users is actually the data they have access to, and nothing out there that people should not be seeing. So this is going to be huge. Like I said, a lot of people not moving towards it quite yet, but as we see more and more adoption of E7 and Copilot in general, this is going to be a very important functionality for administrators. So Copilot Cowork. So what is Cowork? So basically this is a new agent-based capability within M365 Copilot that is available through the Frontier program. And really what it allows you to do is delegate tasks across M365 apps. So instead of, and anybody who's used Copilot so far, you ask it direct questions, it gets back to you with direct answers. Really what Cowork, it kind of moves towards that automation of really doing even more than just asking questions to Copilot. It gathers context from your emails, meetings, chats, files, calendar, and data, everything within your 365 apps, and then builds a multi-step execution plan. So, and it works against all of the productivity apps, Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and SharePoint, runs tasks in the background, stops at checkpoints for review and approval. Now, the big change that I will get to the details of is that Cowork was a functionality that was offered free as a preview under this new Frontier suite. So up until late June, Microsoft has now flipped the switch that you actually have to pay for consumption when using Cowork. So it's been confusing for a lot of customers that were using Cowork, enjoying that functionality, and all of a sudden it stopped working, telling you need to purchase Copilot credits. And I'll go through the details on how to purchase them, but people using that functionality, it is now flipped to a consumption-based purchasing model. So this is a little small, but I think it gave a great breakdown between the different Copilot options. Two available today. One has not been announced yet, but it will be coming soon. So starting on the left is basically your Copilot subscription. Again, thinks with you. You're asking direct questions. It is giving you direct answers. And I love the star ratings here with the ease of setup. Obviously, it's just like deploying a 365 license. You deploy Copilot to your users, ease of use, very easy, direct questions, direct answers, dropping in emails, helping you form emails, really helping you with your day-to-day tasks within the productivity suite. Task Power, 3-star rating, cost-friendly, 4-star rating. It is very easy to buy Copilot subscriptions, $30 per user per month. I should mention also for all the SMB users out there, there is a Copilot for Business SKU that was announced months back that if you are on one of the M365 business for business basic, standard, premium, you can buy that Copilot for Business SKU, which saves you about 30%. The regular subscription is $30 per user per month. The Copilot for Business is about $21 per month. So if you are a small business user and you have the full M365 subscription, we can move you over to Copilot for Business for some additional savings. On to Cowork, as I went over quickly. This is the action layer within M365. Describe the outcome. It does the multi-step work against Outlook, Teams, OneDrive with your approval. So it really is that one step towards automation for achieving tasks. What becomes difficult with Cowork? Obviously, ease of setup is pretty simple. The ease of use is somewhat confusing. Customers don't know exactly what tasks they can use with AI or really how to automate that. Task Power is great, cost friendly. This is the biggest issue with Cowork, as I mentioned, and I'll get into the details, but it does require consumption based licensing and managed through Azure. So you do have to buy credits with a couple different purchasing options that I'll run through. So tough to predict and we're just starting down this path, and I'm helping customers actually identify how many credits have you used over the past months during this preview, what makes the best sense from a buying or a purchase cycle perspective. Is it buying prepaid credits? Is it buying pay as you go? The last functionality of Copilot, this is just kind of early going, but Scout. So with Copilot and Cowork, you're asking questions about tasks, you're asking questions about information. Scout actually does it for you. So it's a fully autonomous desktop agent. It works across all your local files, your browser, developer tools, M360, and your M365 running in the background without supervision. So it's actually doing things in the background based on your day-to-day activities. Now, there is no general availability date announced yet for Scout, but we do see it coming, and we also see it's going to fall under the same billing model as Cowork. That's going to be based on credits and consumption. So stay tuned as we learn more about Scout. I expect it to come out probably in 2026 and probably be a huge topic for not only our next webinar, but also our tech summit in October. So stay tuned as we learn more. We'll make sure to share with you guys also. Copilot purchase options. So these are the questions that we're getting. Customers that were using Cowork in the past for free as a preview are now stuck having to buy credits. So there are three ways to actually buy the Copilot credits. The first, this is my recommendation to customers, set it up as a pay as you go. The typical price is 1 cent per message per credit. So basically, when you set it up with Azure as a pay as you go, start to look at the consumption that you're actually achieving on a monthly basis, and take a look at a month or two and then decide whether that's consistent. Is it increasing? And then we may be able to consider a prepaid purchase. So you are allowed to buy these prepaid wise. They come in different levels from 25,000 up to 300,000, and it actually will save you money if you do it on a prepaid basis. But without understanding your true consumption numbers, start as pay as you go. See how much everybody is using, and then you can start to estimate what that best buying path is. And we can walk you through how to do it. Like I said, it is purchased within Azure and managed through a couple different. Microsoft has made this very confusing, but you can manage it through Azure. You can also manage it through your Power BI portal also. So little confusing, customers just starting down this path. Again, as we learn more, we'll be able to share more with you. So think about M365 Copilot. That is a set price per user per month. Copilot credits, all based on usage now. So here's a quick snapshot on how to get started. So for the IT admins, you can sign into your Microsoft 365 Admin Center, go to Copilot, click on Settings, and then select Copilot Frontier and choose which users actually get access to the Frontier features. This is going to be important because as soon as they start using, they are going to be consuming credits. So carefully decide who's going to get this functionality and then start to manage those costs based on those credit purchases. And then basically assign an M365 Copilot license to your users that need access. So here's a snapshot of what it looks like within that portal. And then for the business users, wanted to show you also sign into your m365.cloud.microsoft and go to all agents. From the agent store, select Cowork Frontier. Again, at that point, you can assign that to your users who want to use Cowork. Again, be wary of you might have been assigned when it was free to as many users as possible, but now it is a paid service. So I would just look carefully on who has access to this, who's actually using it. Do they need it or don't they need it? So because now it is going to be a usage-based consumption. So Copilot Chat versus Copilot Premium. So basically, as I shared before with the price increases, Copilot Chat does have enhanced functionality. Copilot Chat is available to anyone with any M or O365 suite. And when you think about Copilot Chat, it is actually outward facing. So if you're asking questions within Copilot Chat, it's actually going to the internet to look for information based on that question. It is not looking at any internal data. When you look at the M365 subscription, that's when it looks inwards towards data within your organization. So asking questions about certain emails, teams, however you're using using Copilot within the company. This is where it becomes very important to set up the data correctly, set up sensitivity labeling, information barriers, make sure that your users have access to the data they are supposed to have access to. Very important when setting up Copilot. That's the key difference. Think of it as Copilot chat, outward facing to the internet. The regular M365 Copilot subscription, that looks at internal data. And the last update I have for you is Teams Premium and Enterprise. This may not be relevant to all customers, but customers that are using Teams Premium today, Microsoft is actually updating Teams Premium by moving several of the features and select Microsoft Places features to the standard Teams Enterprise license. So if you're using some of that premium functionality and license for it, that has now moved over to Teams Enterprise. No need for Teams Premium anymore. If Teams Enterprise can give you all the functionality that you need, we can dive into actually removing Teams Premium. Teams Premium functionality includes the following. It is intelligent recap, advanced security and personalized branding, and virtual appointments. Microsoft reclassified Teams Premium licenses before April 1st as legacy to maintain existing entitlements until your next renewal. The one key part to this, Teams Premium did not go through any price changes. If you own it and still need that functionality, price remained the same. They did not increase it. They just moved some of the functionality into Teams Enterprise. So some of the key changes include advanced events capabilities for hosting large-scale events, up to 3,000 attendees for full interactivity, and up to 10,000 attendees for view-only experience. That is included in Teams Enterprise. A new Teams attendee capacity pack is now available for Teams Enterprise users to scale events up to 100,000 participants. So you would meet those needs with Teams Enterprise. Also, Microsoft Enterprise Content Delivery Network is now included in Teams Enterprise. And Microsoft Places, which I mentioned before, features such as Places Finder, Places Explorer are now within with it licenses that include Microsoft Exchange, including Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium, and all your O and M suites. So key updates here. If you're using Teams Premium today, you may be able to look at what's included in Teams Enterprise, and you may alleviate the cost for Teams Premium. Again, we're glad to help there. Get on a quick call, understand how you're using Teams Premium, and we can see whether that's something you need to invest in moving forward. That was a lot of information. I don't have visibility into the chat, but if you guys are submitting questions, I have licensed specialists actually looking at them and hopefully providing answers. If there are any questions that we can't answer on today's presentation, we're glad to set up a separate call and dive into the details in a one-on-one. Any customers out there that are currently working with Opkalla, we did have a support satisfaction survey sent out. If you didn't have the chance to fill it out, we really appreciate your feedback. Microsoft actually wants visibility into the support we're providing to our customers. So if you did receive a satisfaction survey, if you can take the time, fill it out, positive, negative, we want to get better. We want to serve you better. So your feedback is greatly appreciated. Couple announcements here. So first, Opkalla will follow up regarding everything that was discussed today. If you're working with a current technology advisor at Opkalla, you would expect them to reach out to see if there's any information we can provide or schedule a follow-up conversation to what I presented today. Especially Premium Support Plus, I mentioned one of our support offerings. Even if you don't buy licensing through Opkalla, we have a support program that you can purchase as a standalone where we can provide break-fix support, a technical account manager for all of your environments. That's Azure, that's 365, and that's even on-premise. So if you have Windows and SQL servers that you're still managing and run into any break-fix issues, we're glad to help there. We also have a 90-minute tailored Copilot workshop. So a lot of focus today was around Copilot. What we can do is have a scoping call with you and really customize a 90-minute presentation to whoever audience that you want within your organization. We have done presentations to different departments, HR, accounting, IT executives, IT administrators, and really it just gives you an overview of Copilot in general. So diving into the details of chat versus the paid subscription, really diving into use cases that might help your employees on a day-to-day basis. So glad to offer that for free. You will have a link. We're going to send this presentation out to anybody. It's a simple registration, and then we'll get you on the schedule. MPAS, so Microsoft Product Adoption and Support. So this is a service we provide to our customers where we can take a look within your environment and offer suggestions to help improve your Microsoft security score. So Microsoft gives a security score to all organizations based on functionality that you're using or not using. So for example, using multi-factor authentication for all of your users and admins. That's an important piece of improving your secure score. So we look within your environment. What could you be using? Is there functionality that you're buying today that you're actually not using? So we also can dive into Azure through an MPAS review where we can talk a look at some costs, governance, what does resources look like, make sure you're purchasing Azure as cost effectively as possible. License advisory and analysis software. So we do this for all of our customers, usually a couple times a year, where we just take a deep dive into what you own today, talk about what that roadmap looks like for you guys from a product and licensing standpoint, how best to adopt new products, and really just a general overview of making sure your investment is worth it with Microsoft. So we can do that at your pace. I suggest doing at least once every year before renewals to make sure you're licensed correctly, but we can do that really as often as you like. And as many changes as Microsoft is actually going through right now, it's a good idea to do it multiple times a year. Again, to start the Premium Support Plus conversation, reach out to Microsoft at opkalla.com. And for any support needs or really just contacting Opkalla in general, this is the easiest way to reach out to our support team. So feel free to reach out anytime. Next thing we have coming up in October is our Tech Summit. So this is one of the largest technology conferences in the Southeast. This is going to be in Charlotte on October 1st. So anyone interested in joining us, we also have a Microsoft Lounge where myself and teammates are going to be doing similar presentations of what has changed within Microsoft, what is the value of having a CSP with Opkalla, and really an opportunity to meet our entire team and all of our partners. So a huge event, always highly attended. Everyone is invited. You can see the code there to sign up. So hopefully if you're local to Charlotte or want to make the trip, we would welcome you to join our Tech Summit in October. And that was all I had today. A lot of information. Again, I can't see the questions right now, but again, Dan Hewson, look forward to working with you if we don't work with you already. And thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.